What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Gakis, and today we have the Equilibrium Dungeon Guide for Dummies, showcasing every single mechanic of every single encounter, as well as tips, tricks, and loadout suggestions to help you beat this brand new dungeon just added into Destiny 2 with the Renegades Expansion as fast and easily as possible. And so, let's get started. Now, first things first, guys, as you can imagine, putting together an entire dungeon guide day one it releases is no small feat, so if you enjoy this video, please remember to support it by liking and especially sharing. And hey, if I can teach you an entire dungeon, I can teach you some other stuff as well, so please be sure to subscribe. Alright, now, let's get started with what you need to enter the dungeon. So, you have to go to the Tharsis Outpost, talk to Enur. She's gonna give you a quest that will let you go and start this dungeon. Now, at the beginning of the dungeon, as you can see right here, there's a bit of a traversal section to actually get to the first encounter. You have to drop down here and go through this cave. Just follow the route I go in the background gameplay. And then we get to the first encounter of the dungeon. So, what do you do here? Well, the first thing you're going to see is that in this area, we have a few behemoths you're going to need to take care of, and that is going to be a theme for this encounter. So, to really get things started here, you need to interact with the ship that is in the center of this arena right here, Board Harvester. Now, when you do that, you're going to have a bunch of enemies that spawn. You're going to want to kill these enemies as quickly as possible, because when all of the enemies in that initial wave are dead, then you're going to have 3 Cabal drop pods come down in 3 different areas, and they deliver a very important enemy, the Nameless Apprentice. So all 3 of these guys are going to be red, they have an immunity shield around them, and as you can see right here, when you get close to them, they're going to swing at you initially, but then they're going to start to charge up with, I guess, darkness, and then release it in a blast around them. If you're inside this blast, you will take a considerable amount of damage. So, what do you need to do now? Well, nearby where these 3 different Nameless Apprentices spawned, there's going to be a special generator. There's one here, then the other one is here, and the third one is right here. What you need to do is bait the Nameless Apprentice to explode nearby these generators. So, as you can see right here, I use myself as bait to get this guy to move closer to the generator. He starts doing his blast, and then I activate the generator that is going to open it up and expose like the core inside. And when this exposed core gets hit by that explosion, the generator will go down, and that will lower the big red Cabal shield that is nearby the generator, as you can see. So, when any one of those shields get lowered, you can actually go inside the room it has unlocked, and in there you have the Falcons. If you're familiar with the Lawless Frontier, it's one of the Piker upgrades. They're basically sparrows with guns. And what you need to do is, as you can see right here, get on these vehicles, or you can actually just summon in your own personal sparrow or skimmer, which may go a bit faster and stuff like that. So it's up to you. You summon a vehicle because then you need to do a run of the outskirts around this arena. So as you can see right here, again, you are using whatever vehicle you were going forward, and then you were picking up these like darkness items on the ground. And as you can see, when you go over these pools of darkness on the ground, you get the Gathering Shadow buff and the Creeping Shadows debuff. Then, if you continue forward, as you can see, you can pick up more darkness pools, and that will build up your Gathering Shadow. However, the Creeping Shadows means that if you don't get those pools fast enough, if you go too long without gathering one of those darkness pools, you will just die. Now, very importantly, the pools are going to spawn when you open up the different red shields associated with that side of the arena. So, it's a big circular route. But if you only open up one side, you go in, you hop on the Falcon, and you start driving, you're going to get 1 or 2 blights on the ground, 1 or 2 darkness pools, and then you're going to run out and you're going to die. So that's why I'm saying open up all 3, destroy all 3 generators first, and then hop on your vehicle and go all the way around the ring road essentially and pick up all of the different pools of darkness. Now, when you do, you're going to fill up the bar completely, as you can see right here, and then you actually get a new buff called Shadow Novice, and it has a timer. Now, when you have Shadow Novice, you can see your grenade is replaced with a new ability. It's like a Darkness Force Push ability. And you'll actually have a tooltip pop-up saying that you can press whatever the same key you press to switch to your Renegade abilities when you're doing the Lawless Frontier to swap back and forth between your Shadow ability. So that means you can press, in my case, Z, my Renegade's ability button, and then I get my normal grenade back, and then I can hit that button again, and I get my Shadow ability back to do the mechanics. So really keep that in mind, guys. But what do you do with Shadow Novice? Well, you need to go to those Nameless Apprentice Cabals with the immunity shields, and when they're doing their Charge Up Darkness Blast, you activate your Shadow Grenade ability on them, as you can see, and that will actually disable the blast and lower down their shields, allowing you to kill these Nameless Apprentices. Now, when you do, very importantly, they will drop the Darkness Pool. And if you have Shadow Novice, when you go over this Darkness Pool, you'll actually refresh your timer. So at this point, after you've killed your first Nameless Apprentice, then a Behemoth is going to spawn via a Cabal drop pod. And then you're going to kill that, keep going and find another Nameless Apprentice, kill that guy. Guess what? More Behemoths are going to spawn. So essentially, guys, it breaks down to this. You have to disable all 3 generators by baiting the Nameless Apprentices to explode right next to them as you activate them. That lowers down the shield walls. Someone goes and rides their Sparrow or the Falcon around in a circle to get all of the pools of darkness on the ground. They get Shadow Novice, they come out, and then you simply need to slay out. Like, as you are killing these apprentices, they're dropping more pools of darkness, and you're keeping your Shadow Novice buff up so you can kill more and more of these apprentices. Now, keep in mind, any of your teammates can accidentally step on these pools and screw you over. So you want to make sure you know where you're standing. And you also want to watch out for the 50 billion behemoths that are also going to spawn. Now, on contest mode, you're going to have a timer, and there's a lot of things you have to kill. It can be pretty tough. I would say expend all your ammo, and then you might actually want to hop in the Falcons. As you can see, they do an okay amount of damage, especially if someone brings a tractor cannon or a weaken effect against these behemoths. Specifically, there's actually going to be 3 boss behemoths that are red, and you're going to have to take those down as well. Really, it's just a lot of slaying out as fast as possible on contest mode. And then when you have killed all of these different enemies, you have used your Shadow Novice to interrupt the explosions to take down the 9 different apprentices, because as you kill more and more will spawn. Then finally you will complete this encounter and get your loot. Now, at this point, guys, once you've gotten the loot, you actually go back to that ship that you interacted with to start the encounter. You're going to interact with it again to continue with the dungeon. So the ship is going to transport you to the Imperial carrier. From here, you need to follow the route I go in the background gameplay. Jump up on these boxes, shoot this vent, and then squeeze your way through these small hallways. Now, importantly, when you get to this area here, you'll actually see a glowing green lights. There's 1 light for each teammate. So if one person is slacking, the door will not open until everyone is here, guys. Now, you're going to keep going forward. You can actually see again the route we take in the background gameplay. You don't have to kill these big Cabal guys. You can actually skip them and keep going forward. Then eventually you're going to get to this room here. When you get here, you're going to see there are some small power cores you need to shoot. As you can see, you're going to have to shoot 3 in total, and then when you do, the windows are going to basically open up, and you can see the ship is flying through space. then you're going to need to make a big jump to the opposite side's platforms. Now, very importantly, when you jump, you're going to be pushed off to the right because of your momentum of the ship actually moving in space. And so what you need to do is start your jump from the far left platform, or use something like an eager edge sword, as you can see, to get across. Now, once you are across, guys, you're going to head inside. There's some more enemies you can take down. You actually want to head off to the far left, as you can see, and in this far left room, there will be another small power core that you can shoot. That will lower down the Cabal shield in front of you and expose another power core. Again, shoot that one, that lowers another shield, and you can keep progressing in this direction. Now, eventually, you're going to get to this area here. You need to shoot the vents, and that exposes some other things you can shoot, but stand back because they explode. Don't ask me how I know. Anyways, you're going to head through here, and you're going to keep going this direction until eventually this room here, the window actually blows out and can kill you. So keep that in mind, guys. But you're going to keep going down these small corridors. Eventually you have some more vents you need to shoot to squeeze your way back here. Then you're going to squeeze your way through these small hallways, shoot another vent, drop down here. We have some more vent shooting, and eventually you're going to get to right here where you put down a rally flag. We have arrived at the second encounter. Alright, so to begin this encounter, you shoot yet another small power core that will drop the floor out from underneath you, and then you will fall into this room where the lights are going to go off, and you're against this Cabal boss with 2 lightsabers. Yeah, so what do you do here? Well, importantly, you are kind of locked in this room, and by that I mean you actually just can't get out by yourself. You actually need to wait for enemies to come through these doors. So when the enemies are coming through, the doors open, and that's actually how you get out of this room, by waiting for the enemies, and as soon as the doors open, you just kill your way right past them and quickly go in. You have to be quick about this, because once the enemies are in, the doors will close behind them, and then again, you are stuck. There's no way that you can do anything inside this room to open up one of these doors and continue to the outside. So really keep that in mind. But once you are on the outside, then we get into our main objectives. So there are 3 different rooms that are outside of this main room. There's one to the right, one to the left, and one to the back middle. And you can see these rooms right here in the background gameplay. Now, when you're in these rooms, there will always be a certain enemy called a lackey. Initially, it's a Centurion lackey, but killing this guy will drop that pool of darkness on the ground. So you can pick it up, and then you can start gaining that buff, the Gathering Darkness buff. Now, after you kill that Centurion, you're going to have to look for Scions. There's a bunch of Scion lackeys that will spawn near each of the 3 different rooms. So you can either like stay right by one of the rooms and wait for the Scion lackey, kill it, wait, it spawns again, kill it again, and keep building up your Gathering Shadow that way. Or you can move around this outside area and look for Scions. But regardless of what you do, guys, eventually you are going to get Shadow Novice, but it's not done. It will give you a timer. However, you actually need to keep collecting these darkness pools and get all the way up to Shadow Apprentice. Now, while you're doing that, while you're killing these lackeys and building up on Shadow, sometimes the boss will pay a visit. So you're going to see the debuff Harrow's Decree, and that means the boss is near. So he will appear out of the shadows, literally, and then he will do that explosion that the acolytes or the apprentices did earlier. His is much bigger and will do much more damage. It can one-shot you. So you need to run when you see that coming, or if you actually do get up to Shadow Novice or Shadow Apprentice, then you can actually use your Shadow Grenade ability. You can interrupt that explosion. It won't do any damage to the boss, but it will save your life potentially. However, while all that's going on, like I said, you are getting up to Shadow's Apprentice, and then what you need to do is when you have Shadow's Apprentice, you go into one of these 3 rooms on the outside, and you need to activate all of the different interactable objects, all of the different switches that are in here. So you're going to use your Shadow ability, and as you can see, that is going to change the appearance of these, like they'll kind of close, and then you need to hit all 3 in a room in order to progress. So as you can see right here, on the door of the room, like if you're in the inside looking to go outside, there's actually lights, and you want to have all 3 green lights. So that means you've activated all 3 of these switches, right? You have to hit them close together. So if you find 2 and you're like looking for a third, oh, you find it, you go and hit it with the Shadow ability. Guess what? Probably the first one you hit has like unswitched. And if you look at the door, you'll only see 2 green lights. So again, you have to like find all 3 of them and then hit all 3 in quick succession. Now, when you do hit all 3 in quick succession, you can then go back to the center arena here, and then there's more switches that you can hit in here when you have the Shadow Apprentice buff. And there's also going to be Scion lackeys that spawn in the central area, so you can keep Shadow Apprentice up, guys. And when you hit enough of these switches, as you can see, it will actually activate these electrical generators. So you can actually approach this in 2 different ways. You can go and flip all the switches in a room, then go to the middle, flip the switches in the middle, activate the generator, and then go to another room. Or you can go to all 3 of the outside rooms, activate all 9 of the total switches, and then go back to the central area here. And as you can see, then there's a ton of switches that you can all activate like back to back to back. But when you have at least 2, and you can get up to 3 of the generators in the central room running, then you can start to potentially damage the boss. And how you do that is by lowering his shield. But interestingly, there's actually kind of 2 different ways to lower his shield. So the first way is that, as you can see right here, you have these small electrical fuses that you've shot before. They're back on the ceiling. And when you shoot them, as you can see, the floor opens up. So you can actually bait the boss to stand over where this floor opens up, shoot those fuses, and as you can see, that will make the boss fall down, and then he jumps back up, but his shield is going to take a chunk of damage. So you have 2 different floorboards here, so you can lower the shield by 2/3. And how we got the last chunk of shields is that we baited him to attack one of these electrical generators. So it was just off camera. I have another view right here of a different occasion, but yeah, he kind of swings and attacks, and if he hits that generator, it explodes, and that'll lower another chunk of his shield. So after doing all of the switches in all 3 of the outside rooms, doing the switches in the inside room, lowering the shield by 3 different chunks, 2 for falling down, 1 for getting him to attack the generator, it's damage time. So this undoubtedly is a melee boss, and so melee weapons are working extremely well. A lot of people beat him on contest mode with the Wolfsbane exotic sword / axe. That thing is doing a tremendous amount of damage. But even the Praxic blade, if you're using that, especially if you have different teammates, like one's using weaken, another is using a solar super for the ignitions, another is maybe using stasis for the shadow or whatever else, like you can do a lot of damage with the Praxic blade. But again, Wolfsbane has been proven to work. Now you can also evidently, we didn't do this, but apparently you can extend the damage phase by getting the boss to attack the other generators. Only one generator is destroyed when his final chunk of shield goes away, so you can bait him around the room and get him to attack the other generators apparently, but you definitely might not need that. Now, if you aren't able to one-phase him, the shields will go back up, and it's the same mechanics over again. Go to the outside rooms, flip all the switches, drop him down the trapdoors a couple times, lower the shields again by getting him to finally bait and attack those generators. But if you're able to do enough damage, eventually the health bar will reach this divider and you have a final stand mechanic. So the boss's shields are going to go back up, you can no longer damage him, and then the boss is just gonna run away. As you can see right here, he literally breaks through this door and then makes a run for it. So you have to follow this guy. You do have some Cabal turrets, and then eventually, guys, you're going to get down to this area here. And when you do, as you can see right here, his shields just began to falter and eventually he was available to be damaged again. Now, if that doesn't happen, there is some nearby switches you can activate. There's 2 different Cabal enemies that you can pick up the darkness wells on the ground, and there's also a nearby 2 generators as well, so you may need to get that final generator activation off to lower his shields, but as you can see for us, it just lowered automatically. Just thought I'd mention it, but regardless, you're going to take this guy down, and that will complete the second encounter. Alright, now from here, we have a pretty massive jumping puzzle to get to the final encounter. So, the first thing you will need to do is, once again, get that Shadow Apprentice buff. And you're going to get that by simply walking over this one pool of shadow on the ground. Then you're going to hit these 2 switches right here. That will actually let you activate this object right here, and then you're going to open up this window, and yeah, you're still going through space. Then a second Cabal ship is going to pull up beside you, and you're going to actually need to literally jump to it. Yeah, it's a pretty cool set piece. So you fall down here and jump on these platforms on the side of this secondary ship. Then you're going to activate these 2 airlocks right here, one at the bottom, one at the top of the door. That's going to open up the door, and you then drop down here. You're going to want to fall down here, head inside, and then we have a pretty big ways to go. So I'm again just going to make sure I play all of the background gameplay so that you guys can see the correct route to take. Now, eventually, you get to this room here with a behemoth. You're going to want to kill this behemoth because you're actually going to need to activate this console in the middle here, and that will activate the cranes. They will start moving these platforms out in front of you, and the platforms need to be moving to enable you to reach the actual areas you need to reach. So jump on one of these objects, as you can see, wait until it goes up, and then you need to jump to the higher section of ships. So there's like lower ships and then higher ships. You want to try to jump to the higher ship because when you activate the crane, it's actually going to open up the way you need to escape from this room. As you can see right here, I get up on this higher ship, jump to the middle here, and I work my way up. Now, inside here, I have more hallways to squeeze through. There's more enemies on the other side, guys. So I'm going to be killing these enemies and moving forward. And hey, there's even some behemoths you're going to encounter as you're going forward. Then when you get to this area here, you actually need to go underneath this Cabal tank. And then you have a bit of a confusing part. There's actually 3 different ways you can go, 3 different vents you can shoot. The way to actually go is going to be this one right here. It's the one where you find another vent inside that leads to this particular room where, guess what? There's another vent inside that room that you need to shoot, and you can continue forward, as you can see right here. However, before you do that, one of the other ways you can go, as you can see, actually has a collectible, so I'm just going to show you guys that right here. Regardless, back on the actual path you're supposed to go, you're going to head down right here, guys, and then you enter into another big open area. In this big open area, you're going to keep going forward until you get to an even bigger, even more open area, and then you're going to have a lot of jumping puzzles to do. So actually, you can get Shadow Novice and Shadow Apprentice right here, guys, by picking up these. And you're going to need to do that because then once you have Shadow Apprentice, you then follow the route I'm going in the background gameplay. You need to go on the side of this massive wall and you need to get all the way up, as you guys can see right here, before the timer wears out, because once you get all the way up, then there's a switch you need to activate. So you can see my teammate has Shadow Apprentice. They're going to run up here and boom, there is the switch. They activate right here, guys. For some reason, my footage cuts out right here. Definitely didn't fall to my death or anything. But anyways, yeah, there was the switch. So you hit that, and that is going to extend open the thing where I am definitely not dead, just taking a rest. And then you can jump up through this hole that has just opened up to continue forward from there. So when you do, you have more small hallways to squeeze through. You have more behemoths to kill. But eventually, guys, you're going to get to this area here. And we have another door where all 3 teammates need to be present. So if you have a certain team, I'm not naming names, but let's say one of your teammates is way far in the back and is really bad at jumping puzzles. You just kick him and then he can rejoin after this door opens. So yes, that does work. I mean, obviously it's a little toxic. You can just wait, but if someone's really having trouble, yeah, just leave and then rejoin to get through that door if you don't want to wait. After that, you are going to have 2 big cabals right here. And then finally you get the door opened here, and that is going to put you into an airlock. There's going to be some dialogue here. You have another rally flag. And finally, guys, we have the final encounter. All right, so this time you're fighting Emperor Palpatine, I guess. Like, it's actually crazy. This guy in the middle is going to roam around the map and he will attack you. Now, I want to explain this first. He will randomly just pick one person and start shooting literally Emperor Palpatine's lightning at people. So when he's tickle fingering you, it will go through walls. So you actually, as you can see right here, need to shoot his hands when he is targeting someone with that electrical attack. That will disable it, and you will need to disable it unless you want to die. But as for the mechanic itself, what are you aiming to do here? Well, behind this boss, as you can see, you have 5 different orbs. You eventually need to take down all 5 of these orbs to start damage. Now, you'll also notice there is a timer at the top of your screen, Lure of the Dark. Now, when this reaches 0, as you can see, you will be teleported into an alternate dimension, into the Upside Down from Stranger Things, all right? So when you get teleported into this alternate dimension, as you can see right here, you have like the shadow version of the boss, and then you have, again, 5 like taken spheres, 5 darkness spheres behind this boss. How you begin damage is that you need to destroy all 5 of the spheres in both dimensions. So that is the end term goal, but how do you do that? Well, the process for doing that, the mechanics for doing that, is actually going to be different in each dimension. However, regardless of which dimension you're doing, the process of getting these shadow buffs remains the same. So you will need to pick up those pools of darkness, pools of shadow on the ground and build up your buff. However, now there's Shadow Novice, then that upgrades to Shadow Apprentice, and then finally there's Shadow Master. So we have the Novice, the Apprentice, and the Master. I get the reference, Bungie. All right, now, when you're on the normal dimension, you have lackeys once again. You kill these guys, you get a little bit of shadow. Likely, as you're trying to build that up, guys, you'll end up being teleported, right? So if you're trying to do the mechanics of one dimension, you're probably going to be teleported like midway through. When you're in the darkness, the shadow dimension, the upside down, whatever, you're going to have these pools of shadow off outside of that central arena. As you can see, you go there, you pick them up, and you actually get a much bigger chunk of shadow. Importantly, you will keep this shadow buff as you teleport between dimensions. So if you get up to Shadow Master in the darkness dimension, you can go back into the normal dimension and finish off the mechanics. Now, as for those mechanics, if you're in the normal dimension, you're going to once again have those nameless apprentices. So you wait until they're about to explode, you hit them with your shadow buff. Now keep in mind, you don't need all the way up to Shadow Master. Like I was doing this as Shadow Apprentice and it was working just fine. But you're going to hit them with your shadow ability as they're doing the explosion mechanic, you kill them, and then when you kill them, once again, they're going to drop some more shadow to refresh your buff, but then you can go around and as you can see, you can shoot one of those spheres, one of those shadow spheres in the very center of the arena right near the boss. Then more apprentices will spawn and you can just keep killing them. Every time you kill an apprentice, you can go and shoot a sphere. And so if you're fast enough, you can like kill all 5 apprentices back to back to back and then just shoot all of the spheres and get that one dimension done. However, guys, as for the darkness dimension, things get a bit more interesting because here you actually kind of have an option. So as we said earlier, the lure of the dark is in the top center of your screen and it is going to indicate the timer of when you're teleported to either dimension, but you also have a bunch of different squares in it. And you actually have a choice of what to do with these squares. So, first of all, let's talk about filling them up. This is by doing the mechanics of the shadow dimension. So when you're in the shadow dimension, you're going to fill up on that shadow energy. You're going to collect those pools until you are a shadow master. At this point, guys, you can go up to one of those shadow bosses and you can actually interact with it. This interact is called compel, and when you do it, as you can see, it fills up one of the squares of the lure of the dark. At this point, you can actually go and shoot one of the shadow spheres in the center of the arena within the shadow dimension. So again, that's how you're going to destroy all 5 of these spheres. You have to compel all 5 of the different like shadow bosses around this arena. Or do you? Because the other alternative is that, as you can see, you can just kill these shadow bosses. When you do, it will take away a square. So you can kill a bunch of the bosses, it goes down to just 2 squares, and then you compel the last 2 guys, and you're good to go. Additionally, when you kill these shadow bosses and it takes away a square, that will also let you shoot those central taken spheres. But as you can see, when you're actually killing those shadow bosses, the boss's health is getting like a big chunk of like white. So it seems that the more you kill, the more health the boss is going to have when you enter into the damage phase. So do you want to go faster, right? Like, can you one phase the boss even by killing a bunch of these shadow bosses, right? And only having to compel 1 or 2? Maybe, right? Or if you want to play it safe, compel all of them. Now, very importantly, again, they're located around this arena. However, one is only accessible when you have at least Shadow Apprentice. You need to interact with these switches. We have some switches right here in the central arena that will spawn a bunch of these like taken platforms. You jump up on top of them, and then at the very top of the arena, you have another of these shadow bosses. So that's how you reach the last one. If you don't do that one, you'll just have like 4 out of 5 and you'll be stuck. But once you get that last one, once you have shot all of the spheres in the shadow dimension and shot all of the spheres in the normal dimension, you're going to enter into damage. So, very importantly, guys, the damage phase will always take place in the normal dimension, and when you start DPS, lightning bolts are gonna come down all around this central area. You can actually see there's like little circles in the ceiling and lightning bolts are just shooting down from them. So if you're going to DPS, guys, do so from outside of that lightning. If you're inside, you're going to be taking a ton of damage. Now, if you have a massive amount of healing and damage resistance, you can potentially resist this lightning, but otherwise, again, you want to be on kind of the outside of this platform, guys, and you're just going to need to do as much damage as you can. And if you are DPSing outside of that lightning, you will need some ranged weapons. So, Finality's Augur turret going with Mint Retrograde at the same time did a decent amount of damage, like long-ranged sniper rifles, whatever. I've seen people with scatter grenades do a ton of damage as well. So just, pop the well, go to town. At this point, you're either going to one-phase them, in which case, congratulations, you're done. Or if you don't, there's some things you're going to want to know about. Mainly, it's the fact that the lightning will persist even after the damage phase is over. Now, the way to shut this down is to have the Shadow Apprentice buff and interact with these objects right here. So they're off in the corners of this arena, guys, and you can interact with them, you can hit them with the shadow abilities, and that will turn off the lightning in that particular quadrant, like where those interactable objects are, guys. But regardless, you can also potentially ignore that lightning mechanic, and you'll eventually just be teleported into the shadow dimension where you need to do the same thing again. So you need to fill up the lure of the dark or get rid of it by killing the guys, right? That is going to allow you to get rid of all of those shadow spheres again. So it's the same mechanic to get back to the damage phase. Destroy all the spheres in both dimensions by either killing the apprentices in the normal dimension or compelling or killing the shadow bosses in the other dimension. And then eventually, when all of that is done, you're going to have another damage phase, and hopefully you can get the W. And congratulations, you have completed the Equilibrium dungeon. So that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.